reporting for TTN HD Production Live, here with executive producer, showrunner David Zuckerman. How did you get your start in the business?
I actually began my career as an agent's assistant, and then I worked for Lorimar Productions and NBC as an executive. And I was a terrible executive. I had always wanted to write since I was a kid, and I finally realized I wasn't going anywhere as an executive, so I got very lucky and made the jump to full-time writing and never looked back.
And you've written for Family Guy, King of the Hill. Have you been enjoying your experiences so far?
Oh my gosh, I've been incredibly lucky to be on shows that I would actually watch. I've only been on. I've been lucky to be on really creative, unusual shows. I worked a lot in animation, where you have the opportunity to do really different kinds of stories. You're not locked into 3 sets and 6 characters. It's very freeing. I've been very fortunate. I'm having a blast.
Great. And right now you're working as executive producer, showrunner on Wilfred. How did you get involved in this show?
My agents sent me the Australian show, and I watched it, and I'd never seen anything like it. I was just fascinated by the concept, and the Australian show was sort of I think a little too peculiar and a little too absurd for American audiences, but I really loved the concept. It reminded me a lot of the movie Harvey and some other like Calvin and Hobbes. I didn't think of it at the time, but that was definitely an influence, and a little bit of Fight Club. I love the idea of an advisor who may or may not actually be there, and made some adjustments to it that I thought made the appeal, or made it a little more accessible for American audiences. And I was just blown away by Jason Gann in the original, and when I found out that he wanted to do the American version as well, I was like, oh my God, this is great.
Great. And can you give me a bit of insight into your creative process? How do you go about writing?
Oh man, it's a struggle, honestly. I think the first step in my process is probably a good 2 or 3 days of procrastination and denial. I think, but I've come to accept that as part of the process. I think it's kind of like the idea has to percolate a little bit inside my head before I can actually sit down and start actual writing. Every time I start a script, I think I'm just going to write all the way through. I'm going to get my first draft down, and I never do that. I just constantly keep going back and rewriting as I go. So by the time I'm finished, I actually have a pretty good first draft done, and then I can start the rewriting process. But I hate everything that I write until just before it's done, and then something clicks, and I feel like it all comes together right at the end.
Wonderful. And how do you find balancing responsibilities between the creative side of things and then being more in charge of organizational side of things?
I surround myself with really good people. I'm really fortunate to have great writers on the writing staff, and a fantastic director, producer in Randall Einhorn, and my producing partners at Prospect Park. And the network and at FX, everybody sort of helps focus me where I need to get focused, and I have to say I enjoy the creative part much more than the actual producing part. But I'm new to live action, so a lot of this has been or fairly new. I haven't worked in live action for a while, so a lot of it has been a learning process for me, and it's been fun to see. To do things differently and to see the immediacy of it. In animation, it takes us, a year to produce an episode. In this, we produce 13 episodes, in 10 weeks.
And other than writing for Wilfred, do you write for yourself on the side? Do you have other projects going?
I'm working on a feature that I've been, there's really not a lot of time to focus on anything else. I'm kind of a one project guy. When I'm on something, really lives in my head 24 hours a day, and there's not a lot of room for, you know, I make a little bit of room for my family, and, and there's not a lot of room for other projects, so I mostly try to focus on one thing at a time.
Well, thank you so much, David, and best of luck with Wilfred, and we'll keep watching.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Katie Allman reporting for TTN HD Production Live.